goodness, it's time to get going. Hello there. Enviroboy, this is my channel. Welcome everyone. Welcome True Blue. You are the first indeed. Those I like the dog of power. that's I can feel the prestige just going straight to your head through the emotes. It's perfect. It's perfect. Welcome everyone. It is Friday. It is Friday. And it's actually like a sunny Friday around here. Like I can tell it must be like so it sounds weird to say this, but it's like I can tell it's not quite full on spring around here because of all of the sun that we're getting. Because once spring shows up, it'll be nonstop rain for about a month and a half. So I can tell that it's not quite there. But I'm not gonna complain about sun on a Friday. That's a fun bit of cheeriness that we don't get a whole lot in the winter around here. Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. I have a history of a very consistent struggle against seasonal affective disorder in the winters around here. It was way worse when I was living a few hours further north. We would get, like, I would walk when I was in college. I lived in a city that, like, you would like go to your 8 a.m. class and you'd be walking to class and it would still be dark, and you would be there until, you know, like maybe 3 or 4 until your last afternoon class, and you would walk back down the hill in the dark. And like if you lucked out and got out of class early, you would walk back at 2 o'clock in the sunset. There was not a lot of sunlight. There was not a lot of sunlight, and it definitely was the type of thing that would wear on you. So I definitely have learned to appreciate living further down south. I mean, like south from where I was, not south in a little broader scope of things. But I've learned to appreciate that, and I've learned to appreciate every ray of sunshine we get around here. So, you know, that's my life. That's my life in winter. But yeah, it's Friday. It's Friday. I'm doing well. Hopefully everyone else is doing well. And it's kind of an exciting Friday because we're gonna work on our campaign a little bit, and we get to start the next chapter of our campaign, which is just it's so cool and exciting. It's really cool and exciting. So let me bring us over here. Wait, whoops. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. There we go. Here we go. This is what we need. So here we are. I thought I'd bring us and start us off on our map here, so we could just kind of take a peeksy poo and sort of re-catch ourselves up on what's going on. Like I always do, just a little warm up, a little primer is always kind of helpful, I feel like. So this is where the campaign takes place. This is my homebrew world. At least as I'm writing it, this is sort of where the campaign is taking place. My intent always with any campaign is to write things that are general enough that you could really fit them into just about any campaign setting. So if you know if I ever need something that's more isolated or am dragging and dropping from different parts of my world, it's not that hard to just change a few descriptive notes about environment and stuff like that and change it up that way. But generally speaking, it is intended, like as I'm writing it, it's focused around my homebrew world, which is Zaoria here, and more specifically, it takes place. Come on, there we go. It takes place in this little hex right here. The nature of my world is that it's a post-apocalyptic world. It's a post-apocalyptic world where all of the dividers that exist between different realms, the mortal plane, the ethereal planes, the elemental planes, all that stuff, all those dividers have kind of been ripped to shreds, and it's caused a whole lot of mayhem and chaos, and that's sort of just the backdrop for our world. People sort of found survival in these handful of cities we see dotted around, and the rest of the world was just kind of left to the mayhem, and sort of turned into this part of the land that's referred to as the wilds. And so now we can zoom in a little bit. Here's the specific area that this campaign is taking place in. The premise being that our players are in this area because they're participants in an effort to bring or build a new trade route from a city that's up here to the north down to a city that's further here to the south. There's really only one trade highway that exists in this world, and naturally that can be quite limiting and quite difficult to deal with. And so there's this desire to try and map a few extra trade routes that can sort of serve as shortcuts. And so our players are part of that effort. When they reach an area, I'm noticing there's all kinds of like cat hair on my microphone on my wind guard here, and it's like waving and distracting me. My cat decided that she was bored with her toys yesterday and started batting this thing around, and got a lot of her hair on it. But anyway, our players are part of this effort here, and they as they're part of this effort down here, eventually they have a confrontation with a dragon who holds dominion over this area. Dragon says, "I don't want you here." People say, "Please," and he says, "Okay, I tell you what, I'm trying to get myself into this Hall of Wisdom. If you can find the keys that I need to get in there, I will let you make your road, and everything will be fine." And so the players will be good players and accept the call to adventure and go about that. Yeah, cats. I don't know why. I don't know why cats think that this mesh is amazing. I mean, I guess it kind of has that it's got that soft yet like kind of bouncy property that cats always seem to like. Because it's like you can bat it and the thing will kind of bounce and roll in like unpredictable ways, which cats always seem really amused by. So I guess I can see it that way, but I don't know. It's weird. It's weird that cats are obsessed with it. It's cute, but it's also kind of annoying. Yeah. I can't stand on the mic arm. That's some tenacity trying to figure that one out. That can't be particularly sturdy. But to insist on still doing it. My cat she actually doesn't really like to get up on high, narrow places. With her one eye, it's hard for her to judge distances and maintain balance. So she's actually really good about that kind of stuff, which is just an absolute blessing. Like, to the point that anytime I have cats in the future, I may just have an eye surgically removed just to like deal with it. It'll be the new trend. It'll be the new declawing, and everyone will, in a couple decades, recognize that it's incredibly cruel and stop doing it. Oh my goodness. But yeah, no, it's really funny. Cats are something else. They're special little gifts to us, and we love them as much as we hate them. Anywho, so our players are trying to find these keys, right? First key is up here in these mountains among the giants. Second key is down here among the dwarves, and this is the part that we just finished. The third key is going to be up in here in this forest, and it will be an area that they will expect to be. It'll be similar to the dwarven area, where like the last known understanding of it is that the place was abandoned when the elves had to up and leave because of the unhinging, which was the cataclysmic event that caused the world to be post-apocalyptic. The elves had to up and leave, and so like the latest wisdom is going to be that it's empty, there's no one there. The truth of it is that the drow have kind of risen, they've come to being, and they've taken over that area. So our players are going to have to contend with all of that kind of stuff. Speak of the devil. Yeah, there's the tail. What can you do? Are you just going to sit there awkwardly? What do you have on your nose? What's on your nose? What were you digging through? What were you digging through? What's on your nose? You look ridiculous. Oh, come here. You look ridiculous. Oh, here. Oh, stop running away from me. You look absurd. You look ridiculous. Okay, no, whatever. She's not going to let me do it. She's got something on her nose. There's something on her nose. So usually what that is usually she got a little too excited while digging in the sand of her litter box, and she usually ends up with a bunch of kitty litter on her face. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting when you think about the implications. It's like if I walked out of the bathroom with my face damp and was like, "Yeah, I just washed my face," and they're like, "Oh, where'd you wash your face?" "In the toilet." Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and the water is limited, so we've been doing the if it's yellow, let it mellow method, and I just wash my face in the toilet. Like, that's what it's akin to. Cat has a single piece of cat litter on the nose. Yeah, like, it's like, were you down there sniffing, or were you just like tossing it about? Like, how did this happen? How did this come to be? Is it still on your nose? Did I get it? Oh, okay, I got it. It's gone. Okay. Animals are gross. I love them. I love them so much, but they're so gross. Anyway, what the heck was I talking about? Campaign. Players are gonna have to deal with drow. Okay, that's great. Let's go ahead and pull up our notes here. Let's see. This is other stuff that I was working on that I need to hide in case my players are around. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at our campaign template here. Let's take a visit at this, because we finished up chapter 6 here, or chapter 5. Durgar is suspicious of the players, but see an opportunity with them. Durgar have been struggling to gain access to the old city vault. Okay, yeah, and we kind of addressed all of that at the beginning of chapter 5 there, and our players go about, doing their chapter 5 stuff. The vault all sorts of wealth, including the key. Players may need to be careful and deceptive to get past the Durgar if they take anything, and that's kind of roleplay stuff that'll happen as we're going. So that's all good to go. So the one thing that occurred to me is I've been so excited about starting to design this the Drow city, and how our players are going to have to navigate that, because I have this really clear vision in mind, and I love it, and I'm committing to it, of the Drow being creatures that will... Here, hold on, let me... I've been zooming that in, maybe not quite that much. That's a little much. I'm gonna zoom it out one more. There we go. Just zoom it in so it's a bit easier to see, and that'll work there. But like I want to commit to this idea where these Drow, they don't operate out in the open, and we were working on lore quite a bit on Tuesday about sort of how exactly the Drow, sort of what the specific cult that our players are going to be interacting with, what their thoughts are, their ideas are, and why and how they operate in the shadows when players are around. And we kind of came up with this idea that it's a cult that actually kind of worships the Tares in reality that are in the forest, and they like to make sacrifices to these, kind of assuming that the Tares are themselves sentient and sort of godly in their own way. And so the Drow want to make sacrifices out of the players to these portals between realms. And so I'm really excited about kind of creating this horror survival situation for our players to have to navigate. But the thing that I realized is the way we've set up the story beats, there's actually a step in between. And so just because of the story beats and the way we're handling like the distances players have to travel and everything like that, we've got to do a bit more. So the anticipation is going to keep building for a while before we can get to that part, because I want to write this all in chronological order for the most part, just kind of keeping the idea. So what I'm probably going to do is edit our steps a little bit here to make sure we have the details that we've come up with, so I don't forget them when the time comes, because that'll be chapter 7 really. Chapter 6 is going to be the process of getting there and figuring out what they need to do. Is sort of the idea that I wanted to do. So we have but I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember at all what I had said about this. All I just remember is that there was going to be a step in between, just to sort of help build up anticipation and kind of flesh it out and make this a nice hefty campaign that'll take players all the way to level 10. So I don't really remember what we have here, and so we're all going to discover it together and make any changes we need to. You gonna curl up in your bed there, kitty? That's a good spot for you. It's a good spot where you're not likely to end up with poo sand all over your face. Oh, I didn't get it. It's still there. It's still there. You get it? There we go. Now I got it. I know. It's gross. I'm sorry. She's really mad at me now. She hates when I touch her face. Very, very particular about how I pet her. I know, kitty. Alright, anyway. So we have here, players again return to the village to meet with a scholar, who then says, next clue suggests a key is kept somewhere in the Siski forest. Scholar also knows that in the foothills of the mountains was once a city that had a teleportation circle, direct access to an old elven village. Okay, that's starting to bring something back to me. I remember that. Scholar recommends going for the portal since the key is supposedly kept in a shrine not far from the very city that the portal links to. Dungeon is navigating this ghost city to find the portal. Portal takes them directly to the elven city, which is now teeming with drow who aren't thrilled about the unannounced visitors. That's true. Side mission opportunity. Not far from the mountain foothills, there's a tower that appears active. This is the home of a mad wizard whose memory was damaged during the unhinging. He's been living here in a strange time. Well, I remember something about this. I do remember something about this. It's an enchanter that will happily make things for players. Will serve as the enchanter that isn't in the city. That's right, because we didn't put an enchanter in the city because we figured like this city was meant to be one that's like developed with the specific need of just serving the mission team that's mapping out this trade route, and they wouldn't really need an enchanter. They just need food, so it's pretty much all farmers. So I do remember doing that. What's up, kitty? Oh, did you want to come snuggle now? Okay. She's gonna snuggle. She's gonna help me. She's gonna help me write. She's gonna be an editor. I know it. I know. She is all over me. Hold on. Say hi to the friendly people, kitty. Say hi. Like, no, I'm not going to. I'm just gonna sit here. No, I don't feel like looking at people. So okay. So here's what my thought is. For the sake of filling this out and having this be a nice full chapter within our campaign, I think what I want to do actually is I want to keep that wizard tower, but I want to combine it with this sort of fictional, this sort of implied or assumed abandoned city in the foothills of the mountains is what I want to do. I want to have them kind of be one and the same and have it all be part of the sort of like mega dungeon of sorts that'll be chapter 6. Because I think that'll be an easier way to make sure we fill it out without everything being too repetitive. We can do a few stages of this, like we can do half of it be navigating the city and then half of it navigating the wizard tower. And they get to the top and the wizard's just there. And the wizard's the one that like owns, he's like the owner operator of the portal teleportation system around here, is sort of what the thought is that I'm having. And so rather than side mission opportunity, we're going to say I'm just going to change this and say we'll say portal takes them directly throw about unannounced visitors. That's true. That's not it implies that the nature of it will be a little different, but that's okay. I'm not too worried about that because it's just a little cliff note for this. And so instead of side mission opportunity, we'll say clues in the city will direct players towards where they can find the portal. Boom. There we go. And so they'll need to navigate the city a little bit, and they'll eventually find, like, maybe in like the city, you know, maybe they've got a welcome center at the highway junction just outside of the city or something. I don't know. And who cares? It's kind of irrelevant. I'll probably shove it in like either City Hall and or the library, and it's like maybe we can put it in both of those places, and once players kind of navigate and find those areas, then they can understand where to, you know, then they can find the information just based on whichever one they end up in. I think that'll work just fine. So we can do that. And sorry, my phone's spazzing out on me. All right. Not far from the, and I like that idea where it's like the first part of the dungeon is exploring the city, and it'll be fun because it'll be a very different type of abandoned city than what we've done so far. We've done over top of the mountains and we've done under the mountains. So now we can do like a very open Rohan type of thatched roof city place, right? Like we can do a place that's much more open and sprawling rather than like mountainous carved into stone city like we've been seeing. And it'll also be different from what they'll see when they get into the forest, because then once they're in the forest, it's going to be very much like, houses in and among and above the trees. So it'll just kind of help things feel a little different and not too samey all the way through. So I think that's really good. And so now this one, so like I said, I just want to do the cliff notes about part 7 here. Step starts as soon as the players show up in the middle of the Drow city. Drow won't immediately imprison them, but will certainly question. Yeah, so we need to change this up. And then, so this is in the middle of the Drow city. The Drow do not make themselves visible or known, and instead operate from the shadows. Players will easily find the key where it's supposed to be, but the fun begins as soon as they try to leave. We'll do that, and then we'll say, so this is different. So we're going to change all that up a little bit. That's going to be different. I'm going to say the dungeon is to escape the city as the Drow are dragging them deeper and deeper into a survival horror setting. So they need to escape the city. And what I want to do is I want to say roadblocks will be placed such that the so it's like I don't want to like railroad or pigeonhole them into having to solve it one way. So like it's not going to be impossible to escape just by like flat out leaving, but I want to do roadblocks will be placed such that the path of least resistance is towards the portal. Well, we'll say the trans-dimensional rip, which is really what it is, where the Drow want them to be sacrificed. So roadblocks will be placed such that the path of least resistance is towards the trans-dimensional rip, where Drow want them to be sacrificed. Along the way, we'll provide clues so that they can understand what's happening as it's happening. And maybe even give them ways to what I wanted to say was give them ways to close or destroy the rip to undo the Drow cult as they go. Like I think it'd be kind of fun if there was like this sort of side opportunity for the players as they're going to be able to try and shut this whole situation down as they go. Like it's not required. They could just leave it and go. And so if they don't find all of the clues or don't figure out how to do any of that stuff, no harm, no foul. They can still escape, because really that's what it is. It's an escape, and their mission is not to close the rip. And so it's like I like doing that type of stuff in general, where it's like we provide this like internal mission for the section that is separate from what their overall mission for the campaign is. So it's like if they want to be more interactive with the world, they can be, but it actually kind of, it not actually, it's like it's pretty obvious how it would, but it really helps with immersion during a campaign if there's stuff that players can ignore, right? If there's stuff that progresses and lives and exists without them directly impacting it, then it really helps the world feel more alive, right? If we put them in the middle of a situation, like if we put them in the middle of a situation where there's a cult that makes sacrifices, right? And it's like they can find the results of those sacrifices, or they can find clues about them making sacrifices and all that kind of stuff, and the cult existing. It's like, okay, we've been sucked into this place where this cult exists, like, and if we provide them history, it doesn't feel like a cult that exists to be in the way of the players. It feels like a cult that exists and they happen to be in the way of the players. There's the kitty tail again. Yes, we're very antsy and fidgety, aren't we, kitty? I know. No respect. No respect. You know, it's one of the first things you learn in school is, like, if there's a projector, you go around behind it. What's wrong with you? You're acting like an animal. But yeah, so, like, it can really help with immersion to do those types of things. Because the other thing about it, too, is if, like, it helps with immersion, too, if players can choose to not engage with things, right? Like, that sounds kind of counterintuitive, that not interacting with something would help with immersion. But if the idea is that there exists things that will continue to do what they're doing without your input, can really help with the immersion, which is why, sort of with this, if they don't want to shut down the portal, that's fine, but then maybe we introduce some sort of callback at some point in time where it's like another part of the adventuring crew went disappearing or something like that. Went disappearing, went and disappeared. You know, they went missing. You know, if we add in things like that, it can really help with immersion and help players feel like, oh, you know, this is an interesting, complex world that will go on without us being here. And I always find that players really appreciate that kind of stuff, because then it doesn't feel like, oh, we're playing a game where the heroes, we have plot armor, we don't need to worry about this. It helps them feel like we're adventurers within this bigger world that has things that we may or may not discover, right? And it can be up to us whether we do that. And so it just helps things feel more real. You know, it feels like it's like the same effect as, like, you know, if anyone, I don't know if anyone has ever had this type of experience. I have these types of feelings all the time, where it's like I'll be, you know, out for a bike ride in the middle of summer through a park, and suddenly I'll see, you know, like a wedding party there taking pictures, and I'll just kind of have this interesting thought of like, wow, there's an entire world with an entire group of people that are living their own lives, like completely independent of me, and our paths just crossed, right? And there's kind of something interesting about there. Hey, Valexian, how's it going? There's something interesting about that, and to try and invoke that feeling in a game, I find really can help players feel like this is a living world, a world that exists without them, which is why I like doing these missions that they can interact with and they can insert themselves into, but don't require their activity to be things that are happening. And so it can be really fun. It can be really fun to provide them those types of opportunities to kind of have those experiences. So that's why I'm kind of doing that kind of stuff, and why I like to make sure I put notes and do that kind of stuff. So Valexian, that can be not fun. Hopefully it wasn't anything too challenging or upsetting. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're. But that's all gonna be a little bit later. Like I say, I first we gotta do this section. We gotta have our players get to the Drow village before we can have them interact with it. So let's go ahead and kind of get into it here. I did want to see. We've got our campaign template, and then I want to check this here, main campaign steps. Yeah, this is all just a copy and paste. It's like the same stuff. So that's good. We don't need to worry about. Well, I guess what I'll do, because we made some edits, let me just, for the sake of keeping everything in a good cohesive fashion here, let's just copy that and paste it where we need it here. There we go. So that'll there we go. That'll keep everything there. Oh no. Yeah, fertilizer can be pretty intense stuff. A lot of stuff that can cause a lot of allergic reactions into people. Yeah, that's definitely something. But at the very least, that's not too dramatic there. Whenever someone's like, I learned something the hard way, there's sort of that moment of like, okay, how severe is this? It's like how my parents like to introduce news to me and my sister. My parents do this thing, and I've talked to them about this, and told them that they need to figure out a better way to do all this. My parents have the tendency to, I'm gonna copy and paste this here, really quickly. But my parents have this tendency of, whenever there's anything serious, they have the tendency to sort of adopt the same tone, and that tone is one of like impending doom almost. They have the tendency, like, okay, so for example, my dad was retired for a little while, but then one of his old colleagues, who is now like in charge of the area of the place that my dad used to work, his colleague was looking to retire, but things were there were some challenges at the office, and so he wanted my dad, who had a lot of experience, to just come back and help him leave things in a better place before he retired. So my dad agreed and my dad agreed and said, okay, oh yeah, I'll come back and work for you for a little bit, just to help straighten things out, right? And like, that was the news. And the way my parents introduced that they had this news was, like, I went home, I went to visit them for like a weekend, and then they suddenly, like, one day I was like I was like in the kitchen or something like that, like getting a snack or getting a meal or something like that, and they were like, okay, Scott, we need you to come take a seat in the living room. We have some news to tell you. And I'm like sitting there, like, immediately heart rate spikes. I'm like, does someone else have cancer or something? Like, what's going on? Like, why is this so serious? And so I like sit down, and like my mom's like, well, your father has some news that he needs to tell you. I'm like, oh my God, does Dad have cancer? What's going on? Like, my mind is reeling, going crazy. And my dad's like, well, I'm gonna go back to work for a little while. I'm gonna go back to work for a little while. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh, well, okay, that's not a big deal. And so I had to talk with them. I was like, you guys need to have like different introductions for the different levels of intensity of the news you're gonna give me, okay? Because I can't take this emotional whiplash of you gearing me up for we're broke and the bank is repossessing the house. Like, there needs to be a tone between other than that one. It's not even a between. They have no happy news introduction. It's just like everything is like dramatic and tragic with them. And it's like, oh my God, guys. So I had to talk with them. And it came up again actually recently, because this weekend I'm going to visit them. And my mom was like, can you make sure you're in town, you stay in town through Sunday night, which is why I won't be streaming Monday, because I'm staying with them through Sunday night into Monday, so I won't be home in time. But they were like, can you make sure that you stay Sunday night? Your father, like, I was talking with my mom on the phone, she's like, your father, he's got something for the family, and he really wants the family to all be together. Your sister's gonna be here, and he's just, it's really important to him that everyone's here, like, in that tone. And I'm like sitting there on the phone, I'm like, okay, Ma, I will tell you right now, I will do this, but I need to ask you right now, is this bad news or good news? And she started laughing. She's like, oh no, it's good news. I'm like, okay, because you do this thing where you make every news sound like horrible news. And I can't do this. Like, you need to like open up. And she's like, oh, well, it was really important. I was like, yeah, but you could say like, hey, we've got some really exciting news, but we want to save it for when the family's together. And my mom started laughing, and she was like, okay, that's fair. I guess I can try and do that. I'm like, thank you. I can't do this, because like this conversation happened like a week and a half ago. And I'm like sitting there like I can't wait a week and a half thinking that tragedy is going to be happening right now. Like, I need something. So, I don't know, but I have no idea why I went on this tangent. I forgot entirely where this tangent began, but yeah, but moral of the story is, have your introductions to your stories, or your introductions to your news and stuff like that, like, have it match the tone of the news, so that you don't cause a heart attack. Yeah, yeah. That's like you're. It's adorable. My ma is adorable. My I love my parents dearly, and my ma is an absolute sweetheart, and she's adorable. But yeah, she does that, and it's like, Mom, I need you to get this under control here. I can't do this. They are the opposite of Farnsworth. They're just like everything is a tragedy. And it's like, and I was like super nervous too, cause like we just went through grandma dying, like over New Year's, so, so like we just went through that. I was like, I can't take more bad news, guys. What's going on here? And they said it's good news. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. They want to wait till everyone's there for family dinner, so I don't know what it is, but I've been assured that it is not tragic news. So let's. Anyway, let's actually write some stuff. Jeez, oh Pete, people are gonna come in here and be like, I thought this was writing. Why is he calling this writing? This is clearly just chatting at best. Okay. How have I been? What title process have I been using this? All right. So we're gonna call it the city in the foothills. Does I know the wouldn't be capitalized. Does in get capitalized in a title? I never know the rules about those filler words in titles. Like, because there's some of them that you do. Like A. Like, if you were to say a city in a mountain or something like that, the A would be capitalized. And I think the in is capitalized? Grammar is weird. The city... No, I think it's lowercase. I think it's lowercase. The city in the foot. I'm leaving it lowercase because that makes the most sense. So... Oh, detached bicep is rough. You didn't call the doctor for that much because he didn't think it was that bad. Oh my gosh, some people can just do that though. Like so in the kickboxing gym, we'll have people, and like I'm kind of one of them to a degree. Like a few years ago, my goodness, repeat injuries suck. But like some people are just like that. Like in our gym, we have like a lot of us like kickboxing. It is a very regular thing for us to just like break toes when we're kicking, because like we'll kick someone's elbow or someone's knee and your toe will just get like a fracture. So right, as long as it's not like dangling and like failing to get circulation, it's not a big deal. It's a toe. What are you going to do about it? So like all of us have the tendency to have like those types of minor injuries. Like we'll have a nice big swollen spot on our shin bone where we got a microfracture and it's healing up or something, and it's just like, yeah, I probably broke something. It's whatever. As long as it's not debilitating, you just kind of go for it. Hey, okay, just let's not demean too hard the process of stepping on a Lego. Like that shit hurts, okay? Like it's not debilitating or anything, but it's not fun. It's not fun. Like there's a reason why it was such an amazing thing, and why they had a doctor on hand when LA Beast went through the process of beating the world's record for the longest walk on Legos. I was like, they put the Legos on concrete and he had to walk across it. Oh my gosh, it was insane. It was insane. And when he finally finished, he like didn't walk for a week, and like you could see all these gashes in the bottom of his feet. It was messed up. Well, yeah, no, I'm not trying to say. Let me clarify. I'm not trying to say that a broken toe is on the same scale as detaching a bicep. Just pointing out that some people just like, they just have the mentality of fighting through injuries. That's just what some people do, and like I tend to be that way too these days. It's like, unless I'm debilitated, it's like I don't want to spend time going to the doctor because I got to take time off work and I got to do this and that. And, it's just so much more effort than you want to put into it. A metal Lego to rule the world. That's what we call old school jacks from like back in like my grandparents. Many people it might be to the point of great grandparents where they would play jacks, where you had like the rubber ball and you had to pick up the metal jacks and stuff. That's what metal Lego is at that point. Like old school erector set pieces and stuff like that. Those things were never big when I was a kid myself. I mean, kind of. Caltrops are like an intentional one for destroying cars, but like these are just toys. Like, I don't know. Like, are those things old enough that people don't know what jacks are now? Like they were like these metal spiky things. They were like these metal spiky things that like they would lie on the ground. It was kind of like pickup sticks, but it's like you had a rubber ball, and the idea was like you had to bounce the ball, and while the ball was in the air, like you had to pick up as many of the jacks one by one as you could. And so, but like, okay, so someone knows what jacks are. So thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I like how the border turned out as well. I think it looks snazzy. I'm into it. But okay, I'm glad I'm not the only person who knows what jacks are. Because, like, that's definitely not something that was big. Like, even when I was a kid, those things were old. But, like, they were not old enough that when I was a kid, I would go to Grandma and Grandpa's and play with them. So, jacks are, the design is basically caltrops. Yeah, like, the design is functionally kind of the same thing. Although I don't know which one came first, whether caltrops or jacks would have come first. It's hard to know. Man, those days, back in those days, like, toys were something different, man. Like, lawn darts. Does anyone know what lawn darts are? Like, those things are terrifying. Big giant metal spikes that you huck up in the air, and you just like hope that no one walks over the playing field. Like, my God. Like, it was just, I don't know, man. Back in the day, like 100 years ago, like, the world was just a magical place. It was like, oh, your child is teething and crying all the time? Put a little of this tonic on their gums. It contains mercury. It'll numb them. Like, God, what a magical time back when they didn't really think about consequences. World is a wild place. It's amazing any of us humans survive. I haven't done any writing here. Holy crap. Okay, sorry, it's just getting on a tangent. Apparently, I'm very chatty today. That, and I made the mistake of not setting out exactly how much stuff I wanted to finish up today. So I'm not trying to like get stuff. The glow-in-the-dark frisbee. She kids about the elements of this kit containing plutonium. Yes, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's also got uranium in it. It's all of the leftover stuff that's like extra radioactive because it's too expensive to get the good stuff. You know, you don't want to waste that on not nuclear fusion or nuclear fission. we need the it's just the leftover slag. Contained in a lead box, 2 for 1. All right. Intended player level. 5 players, level 6 is how we always want to do this. I want to unbold that part just so that we have notes. So if ever I'm trying to pluck something from one campaign to put in another, if I put these little footnotes up here, it makes it a little bit easier to like kind of know what to do with things and like you know, just kind of have the clip notes so I can do like a quick search of everything. So a kid running into the pole in the middle of the night. I have walked into a telephone pole. It wasn't even at night. I did that once as it was like in middle school. It wasn't my proudest moment. I was just like walking home with some friends, and that time I was the unlucky friend that had to walk on the grass because the sidewalk wasn't wide enough for all of us. And I was like, you know, looking at someone else while talking, and I walked right into a telephone pole. Right into it. It got a really good laugh. It was a great story. But yeah, no, I've done that before. Definitely done that before. It's, you know, a little embarrassing, but hey, it's a fun story. Lead paint, now glow in the dark. Perfect. Alright, let's see here. Number of room sets. So this is chapter 6, so it's gonna have 6. It's gonna have 6 sets, and I do that. It's like it gets longer and longer, but it doesn't actually end up taking longer necessarily, even though we're like adding more and more sets of rooms, because the first set is always like it always starts off very easy and gets more difficult. So it's not really at any level. It's not until the last couple sets that things really start getting like really intense. So we can go ahead and add them more, and I do that so that way the early ones can be nice and easy to sort of ease our players into it, and to give them the opportunity to just like really play around with whatever their new abilities are, since they'll have just recently leveled up from finishing the last one. If you give them a lot of really easy room sets, then they can really kind of play around with new tactics, play around with their new toys essentially before it kind of gets into crunch time where they have to be good at using them. It's a really good way to ease players into that stuff, and also it's a really good time thing too, because if they have to sit there and reread their new abilities you know, every time they use it for a little while. At the very least, then they can use those to, like, kill enemies in 1 or 2 shots. So it's not like we're sitting there for 5 hours every single round during a 15-round battle, right? It's like it'll be done after 1 round, so it's okay to take that extra time. So it's totally, or at least I've found when I play that it's really not a big deal to have these increasing room sets and everything. Ooh, running into a telephone pole while skateboarding. I almost broke my tailbone once, the first time I ever snowboarded. Caught an edge and went flying, like, backwards. I was, like, practically laying down trying to slow down, like, on my stomach. But I caught an edge and, like, the momentum just carried me and I landed right on my butt. Right on my butt. It was, it's not fun. It's not fun. Crashing while going fast on something that does not provide brakes, not a fun feeling. Because it's like, it's always imminent. You always know it's coming too. Like, there's this awareness that you have that you're like, I can't stop. That's a wall. Uh-oh. As you're just going right to it. It's bad news. red and lead, read and lead, read and lead, red and lead. The English language is an interesting thing. That's for sure. That's for sure. Nearest city is Novo Troy Kladny, right? Yep, that's how we've been spelling it. Because one of the beautiful things about OneNote is that it will automatically add words that you use a lot to the dictionary, and so now Novo Troy Kladny has been added, which is beautiful, just beautiful. Current overlord of this city. We're gonna highlight this, but we're going to say the wizard in the tower, kind of, because he's not like really holding dominion. He's not really holding dominion over the city per se, but he's like kind of the only being there at the city. So we'll kind of call him the current overlord, but like not really also, and I might even change that because usually the overlord is like whoever the boss battle is going to be. And I haven't really thought about what the boss is going to be, although I do know that it's not going to be the wizard. The wizard is intended to be an ally. So yeah, we'll do that. OneNote sounds like the bar equivalent of One Punch Man. I guess I can see that. I can see that. OneNote Man plays one. Yeah, he just plays the brown note. And that's it wins every fight. Every fight. I mean, you're not gonna fight someone once you poo your pants. It's not gonna happen. I'm not going to. I go through great pains to make sure that doesn't happen when I'm stepping in the ring and training. One of our guys at our gym once won a fight because the other guy, his opponent, couldn't effectively, like, he ate some food the night before that didn't agree with him, and he couldn't leave the bathroom. So our guy won a fight by no-show. It was great. It was a great story. Really good story. All right, let's see here. So thinking about this area here, what I actually want to do here is I want to spend a couple minutes on the map. I want to think about where this is going to go, because I have not thought really at all about what this village and this city is going to be like. So I have not thought about much at all here, and so I think it will behoove us to think about this. So now we said in the foothills of the mountains, and so I'm thinking like if we kind of nestle it right there, that could be interesting, and then the portal leads in over here to Ashra Nalor. I think that'll be good. Yeah, I think that's good. I want to drop our little city there, and we can put like the wizard tower kind of maybe just barely inside of the mountains or something like that. I think that'll be good. So let's go ahead and just plop some visuals down in here. This needs to be much smaller. We're not going to use bridges. No bridges. I want to find... They've got... Yeah, here we go. I want the white and black versions. One of the mountains is an active volcano. There are active volcanoes, but not in this region. Not in this region. I think an active volcano is a very fun idea, but I don't think it has a place at this part of our story. I think we've got other stuff going on. So let me see here. I need to try and get the size to be kind of matching. There we go. That seems to be appropriate there. So we'll just put like... So well, we got those ones. What else? Aren't there other... You know, these ones, and then did oh yeah, I must have gone past. Yeah, because we can do these. And actually that might just be easier to just like do this. We can match the size a little bit here. And we can like mirror image it so it looks a little different. We can do like that there, and then we can just find a couple extras. Couple extra buildings to kind of add a little bit of differentiation here, make it look a little different. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Sort of frozen corpses, man. You're looking. You really want the mountains to be a disastrous place, which actually isn't that far off. I mean, we've got giants and stuff existing in our mountain city here. There's certainly activity in the mountains. There's no doubt about that. Just kind of want to tuck in one more, right? Because I do want this to actually look like it was once a pretty sizable city. So if we do that, but then I want to find... There we go. Oh, doesn't need to be that big. But if we do this right here, right? That's our wizard tower. Maybe it's like right over here. I was kind of hoping it would like tuck in behind that mountain. Maybe if we... Yeah, I guess if we just kind of like tuck it right there. Well, I want it to be a little more outside of the town. Let's undo that. I want it to be a bit further out. Maybe if we put it like right up here. Boop. There we go. Wizard Tower, kind of. Oh, I don't know. Oh, good. It does tuck it behind the mountain. Beautiful. That's exactly how I wanted it. I wanted it to kind of tuck behind the mountain. I think that just looks more scenic. I don't know that there would be a whole lot of corpses left in the mountains within my world, to be perfectly honest. They're pretty unexplored since the unhinging, and the unhinging was a couple thousand years ago, and like, other than maybe the occasional skeleton, there's not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot that would be left after a couple thousand years. I mean, I guess kind of if you're going the Everest route, the body's freezing or mummified a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. That's not. At least not this part of these mountains. It's not kind of how I saw them, or how I see them existing. Let's get these guys a little chapel here. Oh, that just doesn't match with the style. I don't like that. Okay, undo. Undo. There we go. Yeah. There we go. Okay, I like that. I like that. See, well, although, shoot, now, you know what? Yeah, now I feel like this is a little too out there. If we put that, like, maybe right there. Okay, that's a good healthy medium. I like that there. That's the wizard tower. That's the wizard tower. Okay, great. We did it. Now we gotta name the city here. We gotta name the city, and we gotta edit our pathway a little bit here. And I want to, so first off, let's do our paths. So we're using this one here. See if it like will automatically match it. Yep, it will. There we go. So I'll just put a little pathway that leads to it. I almost want to like put in 2 because I feel like it'd be big enough. I think it'd be big enough. And we do like that. That maybe. There we go. There's existing stuff right there. That's perfect. That's perfect. Thick powdery snow. Well, we're not really even doing anything in the mountains, man. You're getting so hung up on the mountains. We're like in the foothills. There's not a whole lot going on. This is like plains. This is plains. You're in the wrong part of the campaign at this point. What you should do, what you gotta do is you gotta get your own campaign going. You gotta get your own campaign going and get all this stuff and start doing your own world building. That's what you gotta do. Because they're good ideas, they just don't have a place with what we're working on right now. Oh shoot, I messed up this path. Dang it. Hold on, no, get bigger. There we go, that's what we need. Okay. There we go. That's better. That's more like it. Kind of want to also just like, oh wait, no, we got to go to the path tool here. I'm going to go like, boom, boom, boom. There we go. Pathway that leads to the wizard tower. It's perfect. Beautiful. Okay. Okay, I like that. Now I gotta think about the name of this city. I hadn't thought about having to name a city. Okay. Well, okay, so let's go ahead and pull up one of my favorite. Let's just have let's have a robot do it for us. Fantasy name generators, baby. Here we go. Let's go with places, locations. I want to do city and town names. Okay, so I got to think about kind of regionality. This is a very plains type of place. So I'm thinking we can probably do like maybe some African town names or something like that. Ooh, Aboriginal would be interesting. Hold on. Okay, all right. Oh my god, I immediately love all of these. All right. Wangagaba. That sounds okay. Wangagaba sounds like. Oops. Oh man. There we go. There we go. Wangagaba sounds like. It sounds like a Huttese name from Star Wars, right? It sounds like the Hutts would name something Wangagaba. Okay, I like a lot of these. I like the like verbal aesthetic of a lot of these. I think this could be good. I'm gonna Girawang Minadala. Oh, I like Minadala. I like that one. I like Minadala. I'm gonna go with that one. We're just gonna do it because it's largely arbitrary and doesn't really matter a whole lot. Minadala. We need a label. Minadala. Okay, we got some work to do on this though. First off, Avi, we're calling it Bilbo. I mean, come on, man. Kidding me with that? We want to do that. Where's the curvature? Do that a little bit. I want to make sure we're matching our font size. What font size are we going with there? That's 22. So I want to match the font size for the other places, and then find just like a kind of a pleasing aesthetic place to put the title. Put it right there. Or oh wait, hold on. Here's an idea. Hold up. Put it right there. There we go. That's nice. And it's not in the way of all the pathways and stuff. I like that. It's pretty. Looks nice. And then that's just like the wizard tower, but I don't want to put a separate label for that. There we go. Look at that. Fits in. That fits perfectly. Look at how full our map is starting to look. We're only like halfway through the campaign, and the map is already looking nice and full. I mean, this area is kind of empty, but it's kind of supposed to, right? It's like a big Serengeti area. But yeah, things are starting to get filled up. I feel like this could be a fun place to put like some side missions and stuff if players just wanted to go exploring or something like that. Because all of our activity, all of our campaign-centric activity is kind of all happening. So far, it's like all around these mountains. Well, we're gonna do something up there, and we got something right there. And we got something down there, so like this area will kind of get filled up. There's just not much dragging us up to here, but honestly, that's okay too. Again, it kind of helps with the immersion. If there's part of the world that's just like there, but it's not actually something that you do anything with. It's like if everything was equally used, then it would feel pretty manufactured. But if there's an area that there's just nothing going on in, then, you know, that's just kind of how the world works. There's large swaths of the world that just don't have a whole lot happening. So I think that's good. Oh. What happened here? Did I do that just like now? Hold on, let me just try doing an undo or something. Oh, I totally messed something up. Whoops. Oh, undo that one. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, okay, redo. There we go. Yeah, I accidentally clicked on that when I was wandering around. My bad. I just noticed that. I was like, hold up, what's Forwa? What's Forwa? What's going on? Okay, there we go. Oh, this looks good. This looks good, man. I like this map. Not to toot my own horn, but this map is looking pretty good. you know, just toot toot. You know what I mean? I like that. I like that a lot. Minadala. That's a good little city. That's a nice little city. That's a nice little city right there. I like it. All right. Great. Super duper. So we've got our city of Minadala, and there's going to be a wizard tower up there. Neat. All right. So history of the dungeon. It's not really a dungeon. It kind of will be. So city in the foothills. Let's change it up to now. Say. Well, I mean, I guess we could still call it that. The city in the foothills. It's like the name of the chapter. Say chapter 6 here, just because that's what it is. History of the dungeon. History of any factions. Not really any factions in there, I don't think. We'll have to think about what kind of creatures and stuff will be in here. We'll get there. History of leaders. There's not really any leaders around in here, too. I feel like this is going to be a place that's just kind of overrun with wildlife. Like, I think this one will be kind of a fun one that'll be a change because we've thrown our players into situations with a lot of, like, monstrosities and monsters, and then we'll be throwing them into that again when they get to the Drow settlement, right? Because there's going to be a lot of, like, just horror-based shadow creatures and stuff like that in there. So I think it'll be really good if we go ahead and give them a bit of a breather and have this whole thing just kind of filled with a lot of different animals and creatures and stuff, right? Maybe some sort of like some creatures in the wizard tower or something like that, because like the wizard himself isn't going to be a villain, but I want to use the wizard tower as a sort of dungeon option. Is what I really want to do that. And so what I'm thinking we can do is it's just like a mad wizard who's like through magic been able to survive and like just sort of teleport himself out of the tower, and so like he's let pretty much all of the bottom floors of his tower get overrun with creatures, so there'll just be a bunch of wildlife living in his tower, and players will have to fight their way up there, and he'll just be like, oh well, why didn't you just portal yourselves in? And like everyone will be dumbstruck and they'll be like, well, that's what I do. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about with the monsters. And so I don't know exactly what the leaders will be, or if there's going to be a lot of history for the leaders, quote unquote, in that situation. So I'll have to kind of think about that. We can do thematic elements and stuff. We'll just say enemies will be primarily wild animals, maybe larger, more dangerous versions of them, but keep actual monsters to a minimum, right? Like, I don't want us to start dipping in too hard into doing like horrible monstrosities and stuff like that, because again, we have been using those and we will continue to use those a lot in this campaign, so I don't want to oversaturate with that theme. So I think a little bit of variety here is going to be good. Thematic elements, got that. Current boss of the dungeon, I'm not sure about that one. We'll have to think about that one. Treasure and reward types, I'm going to do lots of belongings that were left behind centuries ago when people fled the city. That's what I want the focus to be. So like lots of artworks, lots of jewelry, things like that. I think it'll be kind of a fun way to do it. Lots of items like crappy, mediocre weapons and stuff like that, but like a lot of opportunities to, like, as they're going, replenish any sort of consumables that they're using. Not necessarily food, but, you know, if there's a player, especially if there's ever a player or a group of players that like to be more on the strict side of component use for spell casting and stuff like that. So it's like we can kind of offer up a lot of opportunities for them to just like really be oversaturated with that stuff, and then it's like, because that would develop an interesting dynamic, especially for players that wanted to play that like realistic casting component angle of the game. And so once they get into the Drow City, they're not going to find anything like that. They're going to find a very resource barren part of the world when they get in there. And so it'd be kind of fun to like give them a situation like this where it's like this is their chance to stock up, because then once they're in the Drow dungeon, they're effectively trapped. and they will not be able to resupply on stuff. They can't just like up and leave the dungeon. Because most dungeons, I always give my players the option, and they kind of inherently have it based on how the dungeons are designed. They inherently have the option to just kind of up and leave when they feel like they need to. But I'm not gonna. Once we get into the trial thing, we're not gonna do that. So it'd be kind of interesting to make sure we provide them with a lot of extra resources that they should then be thinking, oh, let's be responsible about how we use all these things up. Woo, excuse me. My apologies. It's Friday. My brain is lazy and turning off. It's like, nah, it's Friday, man. Let's just nap all day. Like, why do stuff? So puzzle and trap themes. For this one, I kind of want to just have it be like remnants of like household alarm systems. So it's just like remnants of like how people would protect their stuff. So it's like, you know, puzzles have to do with just like different ways that someone would lock a household safe and stuff like that, and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll say remnants of household alarm systems. Oh, excuse me. We'll say magical stuff when they get to the wizard tower. Perfect. Yeah, that's excellent. I like that. I like that a lot. And then any other atmospheric notes? I don't know that I have any other thoughts here. I'm just going to highlight this so I don't forget to think about it later. So, great. All right, I need to run to the bathroom really quickly. As always, I'm keeping well hydrated, but it means my bladder has a limited amount of space, okay? And I feel like it would really just gross people out if I sat here like a baby and just kind of like made a face while I took care of it, like just that thing that babies do. It's like, and then all of a sudden they need a diaper change. I'm not gonna do that. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me. It's uncomfortable for you. It's just bad. So I'm just gonna run to the bathroom. I'll be back in like a minute. It doesn't even take that long. So just sit tight. I'll leave you here with the music, and I will be back very, very shortly. Alrighty. Appreciate y'all patience. My bladder appreciates it as well. You know how it goes. Sometimes you just gotta take care of these things. and I don't, and like I always say, I don't get paid enough to do it on screen. So yeah, I gotta get a lot more donations racking up if I'm gonna start doing that kind of thing on stream. So if assuming anyone would ever want that, it feels like a very niche. Like a very niche thing that some people like. It's one of those niche things that it feels like there's a very, very small population that would love to see that, and everyone else would hate it. Like that's what it feels like. It feels like one of those things. Anywho, back to writing. Okay, so we've got this city here. I'm gonna fill up kind of our primary tasks and stuff here. I wanna take care of this stuff and fill this up really quickly, because then I actually do kind of want to spend some time thinking about what the history of this area is. Like I want to have a clear idea of what the city is, where it's come from, all of that kind of stuff. I really wanna understand that kind of stuff before I go about trying to design all of the rooms and everything. Because I feel like if I don't have an understanding of the history of a place, it's hard for me to understand the present iteration of it, right? Because like the history, especially in this world where it's post-apocalyptic, right, and everything's kind of like just the skeletons of what once was, you know, it's the kind of situation where, like, if I don't have the history, then I don't really have anything about the place, right? Because every place now is you know, ruins left to the world, so you know, everything kind of turns into the same, and it's not like we have active stuff that it can kind of form based on putting a lot of NPCs. That's not the way that my world really works. You know, NPC interaction happens when players go back to their main base areas in like the primary cities. So I don't, you know, I don't want to be relying on that, and I don't want to not have a clear understanding of the history as well, because like so much of the character of my world comes from discovering the historical remnants of what happened. So if I don't have a clear idea of what this city was, where it's been, where it's going, all that kind of stuff, if I don't have a clear idea of that, it's really hard for me to be able to provide interesting, immersive context for what players are doing. So it's a really important part for me to try and figure that out. So I do want to spend some time doing that, but first we'll go ahead and just do our tasks. Player. So we'll say I'm gonna do main story here. Main story. So players are trying to reach the wizard tower to access what we'll say to see if the ancient portal just sounds wrong. Protal. It sounds like an anatomical term. Oh yeah, he broke his protal onal. It's like, what? I don't know. It sounds, yeah, it just sounds clinical or something. I don't know. It's protal. His protal fibula has been fractured. Let's see if the ancient portal is still active. And then what we'll say is we'll just go ahead and we can add a little bit of spoilers to us because we're the DM, and so we're gonna know exactly what's going on here. We'll say when they find the wizard, their goal is to convince him to let them use the portal. Because there's a little, okay, so I've got a little bit of an idea, baby. I've got a little bit of an idea, baby, in my brain space here, and it's something that could kind of give us an option for like side missions during all of this. So we're gonna put in this wizard, right? We're gonna have this wizard, and I think a lot of our history about this town, like post unhinging, right? Pre unhinging, and unhinging is gonna be very standard. It's a city where people lived and got on with their lives, and then the unhinging happened and they all had to leave because the city became overrun with like very large, deadly versions of like all of the creatures of the plains, right? The dangerous lions and hyenas and all that stuff. Um, so like that's gonna be there, but I'm thinking about this wizard, right? And I want to put this wizard here, and I'm committed to putting this wizard here because I think it'll be a fun twist for them to find a friendly NPC in this world. Because largely speaking, any NPCs they find are maybe friendly, but maybe not, depending on how friendly you are to them, right? There's like they meet factions and enemies. Well, not enemies, NPCs that are suspicious and dangerous and on the verge of being enemies if they don't handle it right. So I really want to add this idea of a friendly, helpful side character. But my thought almost is, in order to sort of like add to add some complexity to this, so it's not just a matter of like go through part 1 of the city, go through part 2 of the city, go through part 3 of the city, climb up the wizard tower, go through wizard tower floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, find wizard, and you get to teleport out. I think what'll be interesting is if we kind of make this a not linear thing, right? We have, just as they're progressing through the city, right, we have different districts that they'll kind of walk through in a certain order, but like have it so that there's really no reason for them to explore, and in fact even have just like a main highway that will lead them through the city. So if players want, they can just easily walk down the path and get to the wizard tower. And they start off with the wizard tower, navigate their way through there, find this wizard. And my thought here, like what I'm thinking is, they find the wizard, and the wizard is friendly, if a little crazy. He's a little crazy, he's a little out there. There's something like clearly not right about him, right? But he's friendly. And so what my thought is to try and do this thing where it's like, maybe they will, like, the wizard will give them a series of instructions, and he insists on doing it one step at a time. He's like, no, you need to find me this thing, right? And it's like there's the portal, but because he hasn't had reason to use that portal, it's kind of fallen to disrepair. So he needs some supplies to reactivate it. And so players get up there, they'll like clear out the tower, and so we can almost even just put the wizard tower as our easy ones. Like there's just a bunch of like, you know, low-level critters and stuff that have made their home in there, like just different vermin and stuff that they have to clear out. But they can just sort of largely get their way through the city. And we can almost do it like maybe he needs 3 components and there's 3 districts to the city. And so we can kind of structure it so it's rather than like, oh, these creatures hold dominion over these areas. Instead, it's like, oh, it's like they spend one day going and exploring this city to find this one component. And they go back to the lizard, and he's like, perfect, this is exactly what I need. Shuts himself in the workshop, goes about doing repairs, and they're all just like, okay, I guess we wait. And then it's like the next day the wizard comes out, and he's like, okay, I need this from you. And then so there's like multiple days, and as they're going out, different creatures are coming into the city as just the creatures move and roam around like they do. And so the danger is just that, you know, the city is seen as traversable territory for a lot of the creatures. Maybe some creatures have hold up and take shelter in the old abandoned houses, but mostly it's just as they're exploring, they encounter different animals. And we can almost even set it up so that rather than there being like 3 different cities or something like that, maybe it's like there's one district that is the shopping district, and that's where they're supposed to find the supplies, and we just make like 3 iterations of that. And like one of them has this set of enemies, one of them has this set of enemies, and one of them has this set of enemies. So like players can kind of be learning the layout of the city, and they go in and explore these things, but every day it's a little different. And so we can kind of do that. And in the meantime, as they're doing that, maybe they find different clues, different hints about who this wizard is and how this wizard came to be and what's going on, why they seem a little off. And it's like, and my thought is that the wizard is someone who had, even long before the unhinging, found a way to sort of magically immortalize himself, right? Whether it's like through eternal youth or through like maybe he's just gotten really good at making like, you know, warforged bodies to continually like transfer his consciousness to or something like that. But he's like sort of an enigma that doesn't really make sense within the rules of how spellcasting for players works or anything like that. But he's kind of been doing that, and so that's why he's a little off, because every time he does that, it kind of messes with his head. Plus, he's been doing that for like 2,000 years all alone in this city. That's sort of the idea that I have, and so it's like the main task is just to get him his stuff, but then there's like a secondary goal. There's like a secondary goal of learning and coming to understand what this guy's deal is, and maybe trying to help him sort of find some peace of mind or something like that would be an interesting thing. It's like I say, it's an idea baby. It's an idea baby. It needs to gestate and grow a little bit into a full-fledged component, but I think that would add some really interesting stuff. And the thing that I like about it is this one feels, at least in comparison, pretty lighthearted compared to a lot of the stuff. Like, we can add a little bit of tragedy there, but mostly he's just like a guy who made himself immortal and has just seen a whole lot of stuff, and they can slowly learn that and learn stuff from him. And I think that would be a really good way to add some interest, some intrigue to everything that we're giving to our players in this section. I think that would work really well. But it needs to I need to work on that a little bit more. I don't think it's ready yet. I don't think that idea is fully realized and spelled out quite yet. But we'll get there. There's no doubt about that. We'll figure it out. So anyway, main story, convince him to let him use the portal, and then help him get what he needs to activate it. And then I want to do side story. We'll say clues will be unearthed. Unearthed that the wizard is a lonely and maybe just a little tragic character. And what they can do to help him is like, as they get clues, maybe they find a way to convince him to go to Novo Troikladny, convince him to go to Novo Troikladny and rejoin society, so he's not always living in such isolation. Isolation. So it's like we can have the side story, and again, that's like the that's the type of thing that can be the type of thing where it's like if players feel compelled to, they can try and do it, but they won't be required to do that, right? They can just ignore it if they want to. There you are, 23rd Vale. How's it going? Good to see you here. But yeah, I need to massage that and keep working on it a little bit. But I think there's something there. I think there's something there that could be fun and could really turn into sort of like an interesting, intriguing side plot that again sort of like unfolds accidentally as players are going, and sort of like it turns into one of those things where it's like, rather than a quest that they're actively pursuing, it's one that kind of materializes in front of them, and that like eventually will result in some possible actions that they could take to offer a little bit of conclusion or something like that, if they choose to. Or if they choose to ignore it, then that's their prerogative as well. So I like that, though. I like that. And I really like the idea of having this particular dungeon, right? This chapter be one in which players are going to be bouncing around a little bit, like the prescribed, railroad pathway isn't one that requires them to take care of one room set and then take care of the next and then take care of the next. And instead, it's like, there's a couple that they will do in order. But then beyond that, they'll be returning to them to find different clues and unlock different things. So I think that's gonna be really good. I think that's gonna be really good. I like that. Like that a lot, because you could do like I say, we could have just like one set of rooms. Like they need to find, like the supplies they need to find for the wizard could be in the shopping district, right? And so we could just have like one map for the shopping district, and maybe as they go, like you could just do the thing where it's like some parts of it are locked off for one reason or another, right? Like some of the doors are locked locked shut. I don't know, maybe with shite. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what would happen to dung over the course of a couple centuries? Maybe it would petrify to the point that it would lock a door. I don't know. Maybe some of the shops and the buildings are locked shut, shut down, locked up tight, and but then like one day they go there so they can't get access to that one room for one reason or another. But then the next day they go back and some wild creature has kind of ripped the door off of its hinges, and so now they have access to that room, and like they can unlock. It can offer them different clues and resources and stuff like that. So it's like the same map, and then changes bit by bit over the course of the day. It's like maybe we plop down 30 buildings in there, and it's like only 10 of them are open each day. And so like over the course of 3 days, or rather like 10 new ones open up each day. So it's like the first day there's 10 open, the next day there's like 20, and so there's 10 more rooms to explore. The next day there's 30. There's just through finding different keys and different access points. It's like one building is completely locked up tight, but there's like 5 important rooms inside of it, and so once the door has been ripped off the hinges, then suddenly they can go access this like hypothetical mall or whatever. I really like the idea of doing a dungeon like that. I think it would be really fun, and it would be really different than what I've provided for players so far, because so far for players, I guess I kind of did it with the labyrinth leading into the Duragar city, where it's like they go through a couple rooms of the main central area, and then they go to one of the offshoot areas, get a key, go back through the main central, go to another offshoot, get another key, and like they kind of go back and forth. I've kind of done that, but not to this degree, not exactly in this way. And I think this would be fun. And I think the fun part about it too is like, from a writing standpoint, this is going to be kind of a challenge to figure out. And I always love giving myself a writing challenge. As a world builder, I just enjoy kind of coming up with these complex environments. I always say I was a world builder long before I was into D&D, and that's true. But the other thing about it too is, like I'm always saying, as a DM, your job is essentially to lose and to be okay with players not seeing or understanding everything you do. So for me, half of the fun of being a DM comes from giving myself the challenge of creating a world, right? Like that's where I derive the fun from. So any way that I can use my writing system to also give myself new writing challenges is just primo in my book. I'm a big fan of that kind of approach. So I really like this idea, and I really wanna chase after it, like I say, because I think it presents a new challenge and a different way of approaching writing these things than what I might typically do. So that's fun and rad. All right. So yeah, like this one, I almost don't even know if that's going to be relevant. It's like the last day when they're there, they get the last item, and then suddenly a very particularly dangerous beast wanders into town and is directly in their path, so they have to figure out how they're going to handle it, and it's like, and it picks up their scent. Oh, that would be a cool boss battle. It's a creature that like picks up their scent, and like I could come up with some sort of mechanic. We could workshop some kind of mechanic to do like a low speed chase, right? Where it's like they have their actions, right? And we kind of, instead of doing initiative, it's just like, okay, players, you get your turn. You guys can all choose something. It could be almost like a skill challenge. Like each of you guys gets to choose something to try and handle this situation, and then the beast responds to whatever they do or something like that. Oh, that would be a really cool boss. Ooh, I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. I'm going to write that down. I'm just going to write down the generalized idea. I'm going to say, maybe, oops, no, I don't want it highlighted though. Unhighlight. No color. Maybe the final boss is a large beast that has detected the player's sense and is slowly and is hunting them. We'll say is hunting them. Oh, maybe it's like a really clever, maybe it's a really clever hunting creature. Like, you know, it's like some sort of like tiger or something that's like really clever at hunting. And so it kind of becomes a skill check for players to try and avoid being hunted. And if they fail, like if they succeed, they can make it past and avoid it, right? And they get the experience credits just as like a landmark thing by avoiding it. Or if they fail the skill challenge, then they have to fight it, and it's a boss battle. Oh, that would be fun. Ooh, that would be fun. Ooh, I like that idea. Oh, I like that idea. And is hunting them. We'll say come up with a skill challenge, sort of mechanic for the chase. If players, see if players succeed in avoiding, avoiding, they can, they won't have to fight it. To fight it, if players fail at avoiding, they have to fight it. I guess that's kind of an implied opposite, considering the first thing that I said is if they avoid, they won't have to fight it. It stands to reason that if they don't avoid, they do have to fight it. But, you know, sometimes it's good to really just be nice and plain, even when it's like something that you're just writing for yourself, as I kind of largely am doing with these things. I guess I do kind of have this thought in mind that I would eventually reformat these things and find a way to, you know, sell them on, or like on Drive-Thru RPG or something like that. If people are interested, you could like just put them there for a couple bucks and people can pick it up if they see it on stream and then want to run it. I've thought about doing that, but I don't know. We're not even done with this campaign. There's no way I'm thinking about publishing it at this point. But because it's an idea, all the more reason to be extra clear about how I'm writing things and what I'm writing down. So yeah, we can do something like that. Oh, I think that would be cool. Oh, I think that's gonna be really cool. That really breathed, that put a lot of wind in my sails here. I'm feeling really good about this now. I think this is gonna be a lot of fun to design this dungeon. I'm really excited about it too. What was originally just like meant to be almost filler, right? So that way we don't progress through our main story so fast that it doesn't feel like it has the gravitas that you want a campaign to have. Like, I'm now really excited about this dungeon. I think this is gonna be really cool. Ooh, this is a good day. This is a good day of writing, my friends. All right, let's talk about our dungeon's history a little bit. Let's talk about the history of this place. All right, so history. We'll go ahead and let's do pre-unhinging. So let's oh shoot, what was it? What are we calling this place? Melanin. What do we call it? Minadala. All right. Okay, so Minadala was once a we'll say it was once a city that lived at a very leisurely. Do I have the I and the E mixed up? Leisurely, like surly almost. I lived at a very leisurely pace. Like, I imagine all of these cities that are in the plains themselves, right? If we look at our map again, come here, you. I always imagine, like, this is kind of in the foothills of the mountains, so it's a little different. But I always kind of imagine any cities that take place in here, because I intend to also put a Leonin city, because the Leonins were the creatures that kind of were some of the big inhabitants of the Goldenwind Plains in general, and I intend for them to still have a presence around here. And so, like, I intend to put a city here, but I kind of always imagine the Golden Wind Plains, no matter what the primary race is, no matter where exactly in the Golden Wind Plains it is, like, life just moves at a leisurely pace. And that's actually a really strong, for me, that comes, there's a lot of inspiration about that. That comes from my time spent when I was living in Africa for a short while. Studied abroad there for a summer once when I was in college. And they it was well known that when you went there and were living there in Zambia, there was this thing that was like, there's this phenomena, this mentality that was called Africa time. And the concept of it was just the pace that life moved there, and a lot of it was because of the fact that they're much more technologically behind a lot of other places in the world, as much as it is just like a cultural thing. But they would operate on Africa time, and the concept of that was like, you didn't schedule things based on like, oh, I have an appointment at 2:30, right? It was, you scheduled things based on, oh, I should go, like, oh yeah, I'll be over to do this in the afternoon. And that was like the level of detail. And it's just because life was like, again, not as technologically advanced, meaning that there wasn't as much of a need or an ability to keep that tight of a watch on everything, right? A watch, get it, 'cause we're talking about time and everything. They didn't always have the means for it, and there just wasn't a need for it, so they just kind of would operate on like, oh yeah, like, if you ordered a cab for the next day, if you were like, I'm gonna need a cab, and you ordered a cab from the taxi service, like, you wouldn't say, I need to be picked up by 8 a.m. It would basically just be like, a cab will be there to pick you up in the morning. Maybe they'll knock on your door at 6 a.m. Maybe it'll be 9 a.m. Right? And so it's like, I kind of imagine all of these cities sort of operating on that form of time. Right? Where their existence was primarily just, oh yeah, today's thing that I need to do is this. And, like, there was no real talk about a specific time you would do it or anything like that. It would just be known that, like, oh yeah, sometime in the afternoon we'll go ahead and take care of this. And it was really maddening for us when we were there, because we were very dependent on, like, for the most part it was fine. For the most part it was fine, not a big deal. You adjust your mentality and your expectations, and you have a great time sort of adapting to the local way of life, right? That's kind of the point of traveling abroad and living abroad for a while. The one problem was, so we had like one sort of bus driver who was also our guide when we were there, because the study abroad trip was camping in and doing research in a lot of the national parks in Zambia. And so we kind of had a tour guide that was like embedded with our crew, and kind of just went everywhere with us, and he was our driver. And so for like the period of time we were living there, he would just be with us. But from time to time, depending on what city we were near, he would go and stay with his family rather than staying in the campgrounds with us when we would go back to like the city where his family was. And like one of those times was when we were back in the city, because we were going to be catching our flights home. And we had to be very, very clear with him that it's like, you cannot, like, this is a situation where you cannot just do Africa time and show up and pick us up in the morning. Our flight leaves at this time this morning, so we need you to pick us up no later than this actual on the clock time. And we were so worried that he wouldn't be there on time. He did. He was a good man. When it mattered, he came through for us, and we got there. But yeah, like, it just, I don't know, that's a long story for me to basically just say, like, that's how I imagine these cities living. Like, these cities aren't concerned about time. Or at least back in the day when they were still active cities. Right there, and a lot of it is just my nostalgia coming through. That's what Hawaii is like. Yeah. I feel like there are a lot of places in the world that do just kind of live that way. And there's like, to some degree, I would find that frustrating, because I'm someone who thrives off of schedule and knowing what he's doing at any given time. I really thrive off of not necessarily rigidity and inflexibility, but like I thrive when it's like, okay, I've set up, this from this time to this time is when I'm working on this project, and this time to this time I'm working on this project. And that's just because I'm a person who chooses to live a pretty busy life, and I work on a lot of projects and a lot of things at any given time. So on the one hand, I would find it frustrating, But on the other hand, I really admire it. I really admire the ability to just like let go and be that easy about life, right? And just be that like, hey, it gets done when it gets done. So I try to encapsulate that lifestyle within my sort of schedule and the way I do things. So, which is why it's like it doesn't. Usually, I try to stay pretty on focus and set like goals of how much stuff I'm gonna get done on any given writing stream. But like sometimes I'll have days like today where it's just like, you know what, whatever gets done gets done. Whatever doesn't get done, not a big deal, right? And it's like because I still like that trip was like 10 years ago now when I lived abroad like that. But that's still a concept that sticks with me, and just like a lot of times in life I'll have to pause and just be like, okay, like I'm getting a little too worked up and tense these days. Let's take a breath and let's remember back in those days when things were just a little bit simpler for that summer. And it was just like, hey, today we're going to be in this national park. Are we going to get there at 9 a.m. or 11 a.m.? Are we going to leave before or after it gets dark? Hey, it doesn't matter. We just know that today this is what we're going to do. And it's like, there's just something beautiful about that. And I just kind of, I have in mind for all of the cities that take place in these plains, I have in mind that they all, back when, before the unhinging happened, it would just be like, that would be the style of life that they would live. And, and I feel like it's good to sort of have that vision about these places, because even though there's no one living there now, that can really inform us about like the set pieces and just like how the city can be designed and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like it is all fun. It's all intended to be fun and enjoyable. It shouldn't ever feel like a chore, right? It definitely should never feel like a chore. That is 100%. That's a very, very, very astute mentality to have about it. I agree. But yeah, like so anyway, I don't know. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I'm very distractible in my conversations today, but hey, like we say, sometimes it's okay to do that. But yeah, I just that's kind of the atmosphere I really imagine these cities were like. So yeah, like it was once a city that lived a very leisurely pace. The extent of planning rarely became more detailed than knowing something needed to be done in the afternoon. So yeah, like I think there's balance to strike. I think there's a balance to be had. I think structure is an important thing, and it can help us make sure that we stay on task and achieve the things that we want to achieve. But I think that needs to be balanced with an ability to be flexible in that. An ability to be flexible and to be okay with things that aren't rigid. So there's a really important balance. And so for me, like the way I find that balance is I structure, like I have a plan for every day, but I recognize that plan, even if I don't stick to that plan, that doesn't mean that day was a waste. So I'm glad that you're happier for kind of learning that same thing. Because I think it's an important balance to strike, and I think it's a different balance for every person. I think every person will have their own preference for more or less rigidity or more or less like leisure going on. But I think it's good to have a balance of that, because I think both ways of life have a lot of advantages, and so being able to encapsulate both of them within your day-to-day life is a really beneficial thing to do. But yeah, so this city here. What time do we got? Okay, yeah, we got a little bit of time. We can let's try and at least finish up our histories of this city today. I think we can probably get that done. Minadala was once a city that lived at a very leisurely pace. The extent of planning rarely became more detailed than knowing something needed to be done in the afternoon, or we'll say in the afternoon, or similar plans. People. We'll say few people had any sort of clock or watch with them, and even fewer minded them at all. The people went about their business, recognizing that the important things would eventually be done in whatever time it would take to do them. We'll say as such it was a place that often drew in travelers looking for a break from whatever lives they were exhausted from before. Though not exactly a destination resort type of place, was a place that often had a collection of foreigners who were always eager to adapt to life as it ran in the city. There. And honestly, I think that's kind of all we need for the pre-unhinging history. I think that's all we really need. And so I'm going to just do now post unhinging, and that also kind of concludes like the unhinging. When the unhinging occurred due to the relaxed and unconcerned there it is, relaxed and unconcerned attitudes of the people, Minadala was woefully unprepared. Well, I want to say, because like the nature of like what happened within the plains is just that the native beasts sort of became more monstrous and dangerous versions of them, rather than there being like monstrosities, demons from other realms and stuff like that attacking. It was just like the large beasts kind of started showing up. And what we'll say is when the unhinging occurred due to the relaxed was woefully unprepared, though the effects of the event were not as rapid here as other places in Zaoria. The increase in attacks from larger wild animals of monstrous proportions was something that the people simply couldn't wow, you can tell it's getting to the end of the stream because I just cannot type very well anymore. It was something that the people simply couldn't cope with. More and more incidents occurred every day, and soon it was clear to the people that they could no longer stay here. The then mayor of the city, with the help of a powerful local wizard, foreshadowing, the powerful local wizard, the then mayor of the city, with the help of a powerful local wizard, contacted the leaders in Fosvik and ensured welcome for the people if they collectively fled north. So that's what they did, leaving their ways of life behind and taking only what few warm clothes they had as they accepted a new life away from home. And so then we'll say, in the days since, the city has largely been left untouched. The occasional beast will find its way into the city. Occasional beast will find its way into the city from time to time, but most do not stay more than a night or two do not stay more than a night or two as needed for shelter, as there is little of value to a beast in need of food and water. So we'll say, as such, the city serves as a strange sort of time capsule in which life from a few thousand years ago remains framed. Remains framed in the ancient buildings that have managed to stay standing. And then I'm going to add just one little bit of foreshadowing. Only one consistent resident remains, but he lives a life of seclusion up in the tower just outside of town, largely unaware of how time is impacting the world around him. Boom, foreshadowing. There we go. Perfect. Good. Okay. I think that's good history. I think it could use some more work, just to really add some interesting details. But I think a lot of that will come once we start working with the wizard and kind of planning out his stuff and start filling in stuff. Because this dungeon is really going to be a sort of trek through a piece of frozen time, as opposed to trying to get through a constructed challenge or anything like that. I think as it is, this history is fine. It gives us like an idea, an atmosphere that we can then build upon. So I think this is good. And I think, so I think that's a good place for us to call it a writing stream. So I can make my switch over to doing some gaming today. So let me get us going over here. Thank you for those who stopped by for the writing. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys spending a little bit of your Friday with me. It's definitely a lot of fun for me, and I hope it's fun for everyone else as well. Like I say, I'm going to stick around, and I'm going to be playing some Planet Zoo. So if you want to see me, if you've been amused by my stories and ranting today, oh boy, we got even more, to the backdrop of me losing my ever-loving shit over how adorable Planet Zoo is. So if you want to gawk at virtual baby animals with me, then stick around through the break, and you can join me doing that. So that's coming up. Just for the sake of those who aren't going to stick around, or for anyone watching the VOD on YouTube, let me just share where else you can find me. You can find all the links to this stuff either on my About page on Twitch, or you can find it in the video description below, wherever you're watching it. But if you wanna see more of me, the places you can do that, one of them is Discord. Got a Discord server if you like talking about D&D stuff, you like sharing video game stuff, you like just chit-chatting in general, if you like my anecdotes and stories, come join the Discord server. It's a good place. I try to be interactive there. I've been doing my best to make sure I check in at least once a day, if not more often. So, we got that going there, and that's also a good place if you want to be updated about, when streams are happening, when I'm going live, if I have to change my stream schedule, stuff like that. Discord's a really good one-stop shop for a lot of that stuff. So get yourself connected there. You can find me on Twitter, at EnviroStreams. Mostly I use that as a place to sort of share announcements about when I'm going live, when I'm changing my schedule. But I've been thinking more and more, that's actually probably a really good platform along with the Discord for me to just share cool bits of media and stuff that I find. Because I oftentimes will find a lot of cool music, and it's hard for me to share that on stream. Music's something that I'm really passionate about, but I can't share that on stream because of copyright and all that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking more and more I'll probably use Twitch for that kind of stuff. So if you want to hear my thoughts on good music, good TV, good movies, stuff like that, maybe check me out on Twitter and stuff like that. That seems like a good way to just drop little blurbs and stuff like that. I also have an Instagram, EnviroBoy Streams. You can find me on Instagram. That's where I do put a lot of little snippets about stuff that I do in my life that people seem interested in. A lot of the stuff that I've been talking about today, that kind of stuff that you don't really see on stream because my streams are gaming and writing. So, if you want to see me doing some kickboxing stuff from time to time, or see what's up with that rock climbing stuff I like to do, then follow me on Instagram and you can see that type of stuff. If you want to just see super adorable cat pictures and videos too, I put a lot of those up there too. My cat I'm obsessed with her, so, there's that. So that's Instagram, EnviroBoy Streams. Some of you are probably watching on it, but again, I do have a YouTube channel. Just find me, EnviroBoy, on YouTube. All of my VODs go up there. It's a great place, and one of these days I'm going to learn how to do video editing and maybe start doing some other fun video projects and stuff that I'll put up there too. It's just kind of largely me messing around right now, but hey, check it out if you're interested in that. And then the last one too, the last thing I'll just mention is, people will sometimes ask me what they can do to help my stream grow. They like what I'm doing and they want to see me growing and doing more. The best thing you can do, show up to streams like you do, just hang out, watch what I'm doing, chill for a few minutes while I'm live, see what I'm doing. Tell a friend about my stream, if you think my stuff is good and you think there's other people who would find it interesting and fun, let them know. Send them my way, whether it's to YouTube or Twitch. Send them there. That's really the most helpful thing you can do. Like and subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And then if you do want to do more, I do have a donation page. I do really want to expand my stream. I want to do more with it. I want to have better equipment and better production value, all that kind of stuff. But that stuff a lot of times costs money, and that can be a challenge. It can be really slow getting that stuff going. So if you want to help speed up that side of things, I do have a donation page. Donations are always welcome and appreciated to no end, but they are never required. I love just sitting here doing the streams. I have so much fun doing this. So honestly, if you're happy with this, so am I. And so that's kind of the cool thing about it. I'm very fortunate that I can just kind of do this with my life, and it's okay. So to whatever degree you want to support me, I appreciate that support in all of its permutations. It means a whole lot to me. I have a whole lot of fun with it. So again, thank you for stopping by. Again, if you want to hang around and keep chatting and watching me game and stuff like that, I'm going to be doing Planet Zoo pretty soon after I take a short little break. It is Friday, which means that this is the last day I'm streaming this week. But for next week, so my standard schedule is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. 11:30 a.m. is, and that's Eastern Time Zone. That's when I do my writing. And then 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time Zone is when I do my gaming. Again, that's usually Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Next week is going to be a little different. I will not be around on Monday. I'm going to be out of town visiting family over the weekend, and I won't be getting back in time on Monday to stream. So don't expect any streams Monday. Maybe if I get back early, I'll pop on and do some gaming or something like that. But I wouldn't hold your breath. So probably not next Monday, but probably Tuesday, Thursday, Friday next week. So keep that in mind if you want to check out more of my streams, or just get connected up with Discord and Twitter. And you can look for announcements, because I'll make sure and announce and remind that I won't be streaming on Monday. But okay, that's all my announcements. That's all the stuff that I got. So I'll just say thank you so much to everyone who stopped by. I had a really fun time sitting here just sharing stories and jokes and doing some writing. This was a really fun stream for me. I had a really good time today. So thank you to everyone who stopped by. Like I say, I will be back shortly. This isn't the end. I'm going to take a bit of a break. There'll be a bit of a blip when I switch it over for the VODs. But we're going to get some Planet Zoo going, and I am going to just lose my ever-loving mind over how cute that game is. So yeah, stick around, and I will see you guys shortly. So thanks a million again, and I'll be right back.